I just want to say thank you so much for giving me and carrying me this opportunity to just talk to you, ask you questions regarding your experience as a family caregiver of Bob. And we really appreciate this opportunity. So thank you so much. And the first question will be, how did dementia affect your relationship with Bob, both in the good and challenging moments?
I think the best way to summarize this is that our roles change, our respective roles, and more often there was a reversal of roles. So a very obvious one is driving. Bob was always the driver, and I always remember how he very graciously thanked me every time we got into the car. He would say, "Thank you for driving." And so that role reversal went for our household chores. I still have Bob's written directions for running our washer and dryer. It was his job to do the laundry.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I asked him to write them down when he was diagnosed because I knew what was coming. So I don't need the directions, but I kept the two pieces of written directions by our washer dryer, and it's always there. It's funny. So, but I think that's what I can think of.
Got it.
It's really role reversal more
Role
than.
reversal. And in some ways, like for a lot of our viewers, that they find that role reversal quite challenging. Maybe not the same experience that you've had with Bob. What are the some of your suggestions, recommendation in terms of accepting that it's about to happen or it's coming their way?
I approach the situation just thinking this is a problem to be solved. And I toss the feelings aside, perhaps, for better or worse. How do we do this?
Got
How do I get this done?
got it.
And that mentality may have helped me.
Got it. So see things more objectively and solution focused, right?
Yeah, and
Instead of the feeling.
yeah. I still remember my mother teaching me when remember when well, you are too young to remember JFK being shot and
Yes.
dying. And
Mhm.
my mother took that opportunity to teach me. She said, look at Jacqueline Kennedy. She kind of went through the whole process. She was the first lady first, and then she did what she had to do. She fulfilled her duties. And then when it's all over, then she goes home to grieve. And I always remember that when there's a sad situation, what do I need to do? Do that first. And
Wow.
then we can save time. We can have time for emotions later on. Perhaps that helped me through
Wow.
the process.
Lina, this is such a great message. I think not just for family caregivers, but I think for everyone who plays different roles, that in some ways prioritization, that we can still acknowledge that we're playing different roles, but I think the timing when it's done can really help us like compartmentalize things.
Yeah, compartmentalizing. Thank you. I think that's the word I just couldn't come up with. And there's a box for solving problems, and then there's grief and sadness and anger at times. But get the job done first.
Correct. Wow. Thank you so much for that. That's such a wonderful reminder and message. My second question to you is, how did it feel watching Bob slowly change as dementia progressed?
It was a very deep and profound feeling of loss. And used to be a very eloquent man. He likes to talk, he likes to engage, and then he started stuttering. And then even more pronounced was the way his gait. He walked. He was a runner. He always walked fast, and he always couldn't believe how slowly I walked. And then his walk slowed down, and it became a limp, and eventually it become a shuffle. As we all know, a lot of people with dementia just shuffle. And at the beginning, I kind of lost track of the fact that my husband is ill. And I sometimes got impatient. I would quickly cross the street and then fold my arms and, okay, I will wait for you, and wait at the other side of the street, and then very impatient. Then, I got impatient and irritated at times, especially at the beginning. But it
Mhm.
took me a very long time to just get used to my real reality.
Got it. Well, what were the hardest moments for you as his caregiver, and where did you find the strength to continue?
Probably the biggest milestone came when Bob pretty much lost all of his mobility. He could barely walk. And we have a two-story house. Going upstairs was not, became next to impossible. And we don't have a shower downstairs. I thought about, oh, I'll move him downstairs. We don't have a shower downstairs. And in Palo Alto, I know it would take 5 years to get a permit to put a new shower downstairs.
Oh,
So
wow.
I kind of figured out that maybe I need to move him to a long-term facility. And then I started looking for a place to place. Well, that was the most heartbreaking thing, looking for a place to relocate him. And
Uh-huh.
then I actually found a place and signed an agreement, and I started planning the move, and I kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. Eventually, I figured it out. Oh, I could get a stair lift. And there, even though we have an L-shaped stairway, there was a way to make it curve around.
Mm,
So in the end, a sigh of relief. The the place I was going to take Bob to, obviously they were very annoyed at me for taking all their time getting
got
all
it.
this preparation done. But
Mhm.
it was very, very hard. It was almost a rehearsal, a
Got it.
tryout of the final goodbye.
Correct. And question for you, in that, during like I see your message was, as much as possible you want to keep Bob in your own home as much as it's possible. And thank God for resources out there, right? You were able to find resources to navigate this and allow him to stay at home. In those given situation, when there's like a debate in family's mind whether to keep the client, their loved ones, home, or go to a senior community, what are some of the things that they should consider?
I realized that not everybody is fortunately as I was, because Bob has a very good temperament. And no matter what, he will kind of follow directions and do what's needed.
Correct.
And I do have friends who are not able to keep their family at home because of agitation and things that we just can't manage,
Got it.
or somebody not being able to afford the full-time help that I eventually needed. Even with the stair lift, somebody had to get him onto the stair lift from his wheelchair. So not everybody can manage it. I
Mm.
attended weekly support groups, even though I'm basically an introvert. I don't really socialize as much as people might think I do. But I found the weekly support groups enormously helpful. And then there was my Christian faith, so church and
Got it. So
prayers and all of that.
community and your faith.
Community, exactly.
Got it.
Exactly. But it kind of coming back to your question, which is how do you decide? In some cases, I see my friends who have no choice.
No choice.
When the person, the husband or the family member physically just cannot be managed
Mhm.
because of size, and then there's the
Behavior.
cost factor, and there's also temperament. It's very, very big. And Bob was slept through the night through the end. He went to bed at 8, got up at 8, and that was that. So
Wow.
we it's not the solution for everyone.
Correct. It's very individualized, right? Individualized decision. And Lina, question for you, because this morning I was talking to a daughter. She said, if my father dies peacefully tonight, I'm ready. And that's such a blessing that God will give me,
Mm,
because I have lost him
mm,
5 years ago from dementia.
mm.
Did you ever feel that way with Bob?
Yes. And that, I think that is where one can feel guilty about that. It was almost, I don't know if I said it to him. Bob and I have a way of being very direct with each other. You know, I'm a very direct person. I wish you were dead. I really either think it or verbalize it. I don't remember, but feeling horrible after thinking that. It was a little bit beyond your example of the person saying, "I'm okay if he goes now." I mean, I think in moments of exasperation, I might think, "Oh gosh, I wish this were over."
Correct. Got it. And in those moments, how do you, in some ways, tell our viewers when they have those thoughts or they have those feelings, and then after that guilt, how, what message can you share with them?
Forgive yourself quickly. Forgive yourself. Think about all that you have done.
Definitely. Forgives self-forgiveness and
Self-forgiveness, yeah. I mean, I think that over the course of 6 years of taking care of Bob, I said a million things I wish I didn't say. And all I can do is to ask for forgiveness, forgive myself. I do tell him I'm sorry.
got it.
And I don't mean that. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. And in his very astute way, I always go back to saying, our loved ones, they may have dementia, but they're still, they have not lost their essence.
Correct.
And when I apologize, I know he knew. I knew he knew.
Got it. I think there's also should be more initiative to increase the awareness of those family caregivers who might be struggling, to acknowledge them in the society, because it is, you know, a selfless act that not a lot of people see and recognize. So I think, our community needs to increase more of those advocacy towards improving the lives of those family caregivers, right, Milena?
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking about Bob's words to me would have been, that was before he got ill, of course, cut yourself a little slack. So
Got it.
he
True.
used to
True.
say that a lot. Cut
Yes,
yourself some slack.
correct. Because we're so critical of ourselves sometimes
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we
yeah.
take things too seriously. So
Yeah, and I think it was that kind of training by Bob, if you will, that helped me just cut myself a little slack. I'm not perfect.
and Lina, you mentioned that, a part of your journey is there's not lots of guilt that you've experienced throughout this journey, which is really the opposite of some of the family caregivers who, who's still caring for their loved ones, who unfortunately are burnt out, resentful because they cannot leave their family and take care of themselves because they have that enormous guilt that they feel. How did you do it? How did Lina Chow able to just be guilt-free from most of this journey as a family caregiver? How?
So I'm from a Chinese family, and we always laugh. Chinese mothers are so good at dealing out guilt. They make you feel guilty for not doing this. They make you guilty for taking too much, for all of the things. And so maybe I was hardened in that experience, and early in my life, realizing that guilt is such a useless kind of feeling. Perhaps to other family caregivers, perhaps if I were to think about it today and I were confronted with the same situation, imagine your loved one, imagine your father or your mother who you're taking care of, or your husband or your wife or your sister or brother, just telling it, just take it easy on yourself.
And I think one thing what I'm hearing from you right now is to never, someone's reminded me today, like in an airplane when, there's turbulence or something like that, the flight attendant will always remind you, put your mask on first
Mhm.
before you can put the oxygen to
Mhm.
another your passenger. And I think that's when what I'm hearing is really like, self-love, recognize what you have been through, just give yourself some slack in terms of,
Yes.
like, you've not everyone can do the job, and family being a family caregiver is a task by itself, and it's an enormous task. And just being kind to yourself, loving yourself are those very important things that we all have to be mindful of doing every day.
Yeah, and actually, I like to suddenly you gave me an idea. I think let's take it one more step. Let's think about if we as caregivers tell ourselves to stop worrying about feeling guilty, just cut ourselves the slack. We are going to be better caregivers. Our
Yeah,
loved ones are going to benefit.
got it. Correct. And it's almost like, when we operate from a place of fear, nothing really comes out that's good when you're operating from fear. You're not enjoying the journey. Those moments that you have with your loved ones is almost like, for you, it's a waste of time, or you don't see the impact
Yeah.
that has, right? So I think we should eliminate or try our best to be mindful of really setting aside our fear and our guilt, and really focus on the beauty in caregiving and
Mhm. Mhm.
connection. So thank you for that, Lena.
The connection, the connection.
Right. Connection.
Mhm.
And then next question that I have for you is, what do you wish others understood about emotional toll on caring of someone with dementia?
Oh my gosh. That's really yeah, I kind of chuckle about this I because I think I can think of about two different answers to your question. First of all, it's so easy for other people to say, how can I help? People say that all the time. No harm done. But even better, but you think about the caregiver being stuck in this never-ending set of chores. How about we as bystanders, as friends who want to help figure it out a little bit? Offering respite, spending
Right.
time with the person. Just think of something beyond how can I help actually do something.
Something
And
about it instead of
yeah,
your words. I got it. And
yeah,
and Lina, that leads me another question, that, one of the things that I feel that our society, and maybe you agree or don't agree with me, that I wish for family caregivers, or even not just family caregivers, but for any caregiver, to see that they are in some ways not a victim of their circumstances or situation, to see them as a victor instead of a victim. And
yeah.
in this given situation, do you agree in this concept, and what are your thoughts?
Totally, 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 totally. And I think that thinking of oneself as a victim is never ever productive. You know that. I mean, that's why you're suggesting just you're declaring that you're helpless and you can't do anything. But I do know people that tend to see themselves as victims. That's almost a personality trait. I don't know how to help on that front.
Mhm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Correct. In some ways, do you feel that there's something I can do, or, especially when, for example, I go to clients, see a client, and we're just there for respite care, and then there's loved ones who feel trapped, who feel, they're just doing it all alone, and you can really tell that they're not living a productive, and their lives are really not quality. How can I help, you think? How do you think a person like me can be part of making an impact, not just only to the client that we serve, but also to the family members?
Feeling like a victim doesn't change the fact that you have to take care of your loved one. But
Object.
feeling like you're doing something positive for the person you love, that might feel a little better. You're doing the same thing, just your mindset is different.
The mindset. It's really all about mindset, huh,
I
Lina?
think it's a mindset, and it wouldn't change, it won't make my job any different. If
Correct.
I had to do all these things for Bob when I did, it wouldn't change, but I feel a little bit better about it if I was saying, I'm doing this because I can rather than because I'm made to do this.
I think you just in some way spark my thoughts in terms of, like, again, it goes back to every existence that we are in our lifetime is all about how we see things, how we view things, how we
Yeah.
perceive things. And if we find joy, if we try to find joy in everything that we do, I think that will really help us have, again, those time of connecting with our loved ones who might have dementia better.
Yeah, I think in support groups, I find that you might find when you say that, when you and I say things along those lines, people might just, it's good, easy for you to say, you're not in my shoes.
True.
And people just have to think, well, but you are in your shoes and you can think about it as a victim or you can think about it as a problem solver or someone in control of your life. It wouldn't change your circumstances, but it might make you feel better.
Correct. That you have a choice. That you
Yeah, that
have
you,
a
it's
choice.
your choice how you feel.
Correct. Thank you so much for this. And one question that's not actually part of the list of questions that I ask you.
Mhm.
Recently, we've had this client of ours that we've had revolving doors of caregivers. We're unable to find the right match just because a lot of our caregivers, they find it challenging, feeling that they're micromanaged and everything like that. What message can you share to those caregivers in terms of seeing the situation as challenging, but more so going to a more client-focused care?
Oh, I, as you say that, this is called coming back to me. Just, I think that the two words are let go. And because when I think about the days when I had caregivers, other people are taking over my kitchen. It's my kitchen. So I'm either going to let it go or I'm going to just let it go and you feel better. It's all the same.
Got it. So meaning from a family caregiver perspective,
Yeah.
they should be able to somewhat trust the care providers and being okay that there might be some things that might change in the household given there's new people coming in. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, yeah. And no one is as perfect as you are. No one can take care of Bob better than I can. But can I do that 24 hours a day? No. So what are your choices? I say to myself. I became a much more easygoing person in many ways.
Got it.
And because a woman like me have to allow somebody else into my kitchen. Kitchen being a woman's territory, really.
Correct.
Having they're
Wow.
able to, cook a certain way, they're going to put things away a little differently. I let it go, or I'm not going to get help.
This is profound, Lina. This
I don't
is,
know if it's for, but
it
but I
is.
realized that it's no longer, I'm going to share this kitchen. You're going to share this kitchen if you want help. And I asked myself, do you want help?
Got it. During this meeting as well with this family, particular family, what really touched my heart, Lina, was when the daughter mentioned that my mother is not difficult. She's 98 years old, losing her mental capacity. She's slowing down, and she's now having caregiver that she never used to have because she's now a high fall risk. It's almost like an invitation for more empathy in this healthcare field,
Right.
that people will not see clients as difficult, challenging, rude, most especially when clients have dementia and cognitive problems. What's your take on that given scenario?
I think that looking back, we can all get very picky and judgmental about people coming to help us. And then reminding ourselves, if you want help, you're going to have to give a little. It's a two-way
Accept
street.
it. Accept it. Accept help. Accept
Yeah,
help.
accept help and also, of course, if somebody came in to take care of my husband, they're not me. They're not going to do it the way I do it. it's not lowering your standards. It's like realizing that there are other ways to do this.
Got it. Thanks so much, Lina. And my last question will be, what's your message to all caregivers, not whether they're professional caregivers, family caregivers?
I always want to remind people that just because a person has dementia, they have not lost, there is something in there. They are not lost.
Dementia does not take away people's accomplishment, who they are,
Right,
the kind of person they are, the father they used to be,
right,
the husband they used to be.
right.
Dementia cannot take that away from them.
That honor that they're sitting there looking really like into space, like they're useless. There's
Correct.
a person there. There's still a person. And
Correct.
respect that person in there.
Correct.
And acknowledge and value that person.
Got
They're
it.
not just, just some random object sitting there.
Got it. Lina, thank you so much for this.
I don't know if it makes sense. I'm just
Oh,
rambling.
it makes sense, Lina. It does make sense. And again, I cannot think of any better person to ask these questions and to start this Zoom interview better than Lina.
Oh,
So
thank you. I was very fortunate.
Thank you for giving back to the community by sharing what you've learned, by having the voice that represent all the family caregivers who's been through what you've been through. And thank you for allowing us to see that it can be joyful being a family caregiver.
It can be. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Lina.
for the opportunity.